UPS cargo plane explodes midair. Tragic. UPS cargo plane explosion at Louisville airport kills 7, injures 11 amid worsening air travel crisis. A devastating accident struck Louisville, Kentucky on Tuesday evening when a UPS cargo plane exploded upon takeoff from Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, killing 7 people and injuring at least 11 others. Authorities say the situation remains fluid as rescue and recovery operations continue through the night. Now let's break down this story in detail on the AI podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission, well, it's pretty straightforward. We're taking apart the sources on a local catastrophe down in Kentucky.
That's right.
And we're immediately putting that tragedy right against the backdrop of this huge nationwide political and operational crisis that was already hitting U.S. air travel.
Yeah, you're going to see how this one single event, this devastating plane explosion, it didn't just, create chaos locally.
Mm-hmm.
It actually exposed these deep stress points.
Stress points.
Yeah, points that had been building across the entire U.S. aviation system for weeks. It's all about the context here. The shocking reality was that critical infrastructure was already struggling before this disaster hit.
So the core subject is this really awful incident at Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Happened on a Tuesday evening, involved a UPS cargo plane, exploded right on takeoff. But what really makes this deep dive interesting, is that this local tragedy happened while the U.S. government was deep into its longest shutdown ever. And that shutdown was actively crippling air travel efficiency everywhere.
It's like a pressure test that just went completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to start by grounding ourselves in the specifics of the accident itself. Because the scale of the destruction in Louisville, it was truly immense.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics then. We're looking at a McDonnell Douglas MD-11 aircraft.
Yep, an MD-11.
It was scheduled to leave around, 5:15 p.m., heading out on a really long flight over the Pacific. Destination was Honolulu, Daniel K. Inouye International.
And the FAA reporting we have, it comes from witnesses, and it paints this terrifying picture. As the plane started climbing just after lifting off the runway, observers reported seeing this massive fireball. It just erupted specifically from the left wing.
Wow, and it escalated immediately, didn't it? The plane wasn't just on fire, it actually exploded.
It exploded.
There were videos, right? Social media, dash cams that captured the plane crashing back down onto the tarmac.
Yeah, horrific footage.
And it was just instantly consumed by flames.
Yeah.
I mean, for anyone who saw that footage mentioned in the sources, the speed and the violence of it, the explosion, then the fiery fall must have been absolutely chilling.
And what's really staggering here is the amount of fuel involved. Think about it. This flight was going all the way to Hawaii.
Right. Long haul.
So it was loaded with about 38,000 gallons of jet fuel. 38,000 gallons.
Oh, that's incredible.
That volume just turned the fire into this raging inferno. Officials actually tracked it, spreading across a 5-mile area.
5 miles from 38,000 gallons of fuel.
Yeah, that gives you a sense of the
Right.
sheer scale of the damage. And the immediate human cost was just heartbreaking. Initial figures confirmed 7 people killed.
At least 11 injured, too.
Right, 11 injured. And UPS confirmed 3 crew members were on the plane, but initially there was all this uncertainty about whether they were among the deceased, just added to the chaos. Yeah, and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear was unfortunately very realistic about it early on. He warned that as the rescue and recovery operations continued, through the surrounding area.
They expected the numbers to go up.
Sadly, yes. The confirmed number of fatalities was expected to rise.
Okay, so that's the scene right at the airport. Intense. But the explosion, the fire, it didn't just stay on the airport grounds, did it? This is where it starts to spill out into the local community.
That's the key point. This massive fire, it literally leaped beyond the airfield.
Where did it go?
It ignited 2 commercial facilities nearby, Kentucky Petroleum Recycling and Grade A Auto Parts. The fire moved so incredibly fast and it was so intense, the employees there were just immediately in danger.
We saw reports saying almost all the employees from those 2 places were initially unaccounted for. That really speaks to the intensity of the blast and the fire, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Though thankfully the sources did later confirm 2 survivors were eventually found. But still, this wasn't just a fire on a runway. It became a full-blown, multi-site community emergency.
And the initial emergency response really reflects that. Louisville Metro Police, they were just inundated, got over 20 emergency calls within minutes of the explosion.
Wow.
Authorities, they really had no choice. They had to issue a shelter-in-place order for, all of southern Louisville, just because of the sheer volume of smoke and debris and hazardous materials pouring into the air.
And the airport itself, Louisville Muhammad Ali International.
Immediately closed, shut down, completely grounded all traffic, passenger and cargo. But the real, the functional trauma here, the one that sends shockwaves way beyond Kentucky, is the impact on logistics.
Ah, right. UPS Worldport?
Exactly. The blast directly disrupted operations at UPS Worldport. You have to think about the gravity of that. Worldport isn't just, some depot. It is UPS's largest logistics hub on the entire planet.
And when you say largest, what kind of volume are we actually talking about here, just to give people a sense?
We are talking about an operation that processes over 2 million packages daily.
2 million a day.
Yeah. This is like a central artery for global commerce. It handles everything from, say, pharmaceutical deliveries to critical parts for manufacturing. When that system gets taken offline, even for a short time, the repercussions are instant. And
national.
2 million packages.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to really visualize that kind of volume. UPS actually had to tell employees in their next day air sort division not to even come into work.
Right.
So that single blast basically paralyzed one of the most vital engines of the entire nation's supply chain, just overnight.
And what's sort of fascinating in a grim way is that this paralysis right here, the immediate shutdown of this logistics core, lets us pivot directly to the national paralysis that was already gripping the country.
Okay.
I mean, the cause of the Louisville explosion, that's a job for the NTSB and the FAA to figure out for sure. But the system it hit, that system was already deeply, profoundly strained.
Right. This is where we connect those dots you mentioned earlier, and it reveals this really serious issue about systemic resilience, doesn't it? The crash shut down the physical hub of commerce in Louisville, physically shut it down.
But what our sources clearly show is that the rest of the U.S. aviation network, it was already struggling just to breathe.
That's the critical takeaway here. Even before the tragedy in Louisville, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, had already been forced to implement these things called ground delay programs.
Right, I remember reading about those.
At major airports all across the country. And the official reason they gave, staffing shortages.
And let's be clear, those staffing shortages weren't just like a random fluctuation. They were a direct, debilitating result of that ongoing U.S. government shutdown.
Absolutely direct.
This wasn't just some minor annoyance for travelers. This was a major functional collapse in the system's operational capacity.
The numbers are pretty staggering when you look at them. Take Houston's George Bush Intercontinental, IAH.
Okay.
Its arrival rate was severely slashed.
Yeah.
Cut from handling 70 flights per hour down to just 40.
Wow, that's a huge cut.
Huge. And that reduction instantly caused delays to balloon to over 90 minutes.
And the chaos just spread from there, didn't it? Nearby William P. Hobby Airport, HOU.
Yep. Hobby saw restrictions causing delays stretching up to 3 hours.
3 hours.
And Phoenix Sky Harbor, another major hub, implemented similar massive restrictions. This wasn't, bad weather somewhere. This was a deliberate operational slowdown across key hubs.
Explicitly tied to the FAA not being able to staff critical positions because of the shutdown.
Exactly. And the systemic pressure, it just can't be overstated. We're talking about the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
Yeah.
Which forced air traffic controllers, the people literally responsible for keeping planes from hitting each other, to keep working without getting paid.
Unbelievable.
Think about the immense ethical and professional stress that puts on the entire system. Just enormous.
And of course, Washington being Washington, they were quick to frame the existing air travel chaos politically, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Our sources detail that immediate conflict flaring up. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she publicly criticized Democrats, claimed that by blocking funding bills, they were actively making air travel unsafe for everyone.
Yeah, she didn't mince words at all. She specifically called out 5 Democratic senators by name, basically demanding they join Republicans to pass what they called a clean continuing resolution.
To restore the funding and the staffing crisis?
Right, and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy also weighed in on all the turbulence. He urged prayers to the victims in Louisville, of course, but also confirmed the NTSB and FAA had mobilized their full investigation teams.
So you had this major political battle raging over the stability and the safety of the entire air travel system, with one side accusing the other of actively crippling it.
Right in the middle of it.
And then smack in the middle of that crisis, this catastrophic operational failure happens right at the heart of the national logistics network.
It means both the technical investigation into why that plane exploded and the political fighting over the shutdown. They suddenly took on this immense shared gravity.
Yeah.
The investigators are trying to figure out the cause of the MD-11 explosion, the mechanics of it. But they're doing it within a system defined by this intense national stress.
So if we synthesize this whole deep dive, you can see it really clearly now. The Louisville tragedy, the horrific loss of life, that huge inferno, the paralysis of a major logistics hub, it didn't happen in a vacuum.
Not at all.
It happened against this backdrop of, systemic failure. You had unpaid federal workers, major airport delays already happening, rising political tension, all of it profoundly compromising the stability of U.S. aviation infrastructure before the plane even took off.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it raises this really important question, doesn't it, about the resilience of our critical national infrastructure.
How resilient is it, really?
Exactly. When one type of failure, like an unforeseen technical accident, hits at the exact same time as a completely preventable political failure, like a government deadlock, causing staffing shortages. How deep are those systemic reserves? The reserves that keep a highly optimized, just-in-time nation actually running.
Yeah, the fact that the nation's biggest logistics hub, Worldport, shut down at the exact same time major passenger airports like Houston and Phoenix were functionally crippled by staffing problems, it just highlights the extreme vulnerability, doesn't it?
It really does.
Our transportation systems, they aren't built with layers and layers of redundancy to absorb both a massive operational failure and political instability hitting simultaneously.
It forces us, I think, to acknowledge that critical infrastructure can be brought to its knees, not just by, fire and twisted metal, but by a lack of political consensus, by the erosion of support for the workers who keep it running.
Absolutely. And think about what that reveals about where the weakest links in our supply chain might truly lie. That's definitely something for you to mull over as you go about your day. Thanks for diving deep with us.
One question for you. What caused the UPS cargo plane to explode during takeoff at Louisville Airport? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.